Welcome back, trainers. It's episode 2 of Pokémon Jeopardy. I'm your host, Professor Lorax. Thanks for joining me. We're back with 26 new clues to test your knowledge with all things Pokémon. Here are the rules on your screen. And if you need to pause to look up some answers, nobody's gonna know. Let's take a look at the new categories for episode 2. First up we have Fairy type. That one should be self-explanatory. Then it's Hoenn Region. This could cover anything relating to the Hoenn Region in a game or a show. You got a preview of it last week in Final Jeopardy. We're bringing back Poké Balls for a full board of categories today. Next we have Wizards of the Coast, the company responsible for printing the original run of Pokémon cards in the United States. And finally, spin-off games. This can cover any of the Pokémon games not considered a part of the main line, which would be Red, Blue, Yellow, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. You get the picture. And I'll also go ahead and tell you, this does not include any mobile games you might have downloaded on your phone. Let's get started with the Pokeball round, the 5 easiest questions in the game. Starting with Fairy type for 200. Fairy types were introduced in this generation. This brought an end to what a lot of people thought of as a dragon-dominated era. The correct answer is Gen 6 or X and Y. Let's move on to the second clue of the game. Here comes Hoenn Region. Trainers in Hoenn are given the choice of one of these 3 starter Pokemon. You can't go wrong with any of these choices. That would be Trico, Torchic, and Mudkip. Over to Pokeballs for the first time today. The most basic device for catching a wild Pokemon. Try not to overthink this one. We're simply looking for Pokeballs. Let's talk about Wizards of the Coast. This set is comprised of reprints from Base Set, Jungle, and Fossil. The set is very cleverly named Base Set 2. If you want a cheaper alternative to some of those classic cards, this is definitely the way to go. And the final clue of the Pokeball round belongs to spin-off games. Here we go for 200. This classic N64 game received an updated follow-up for the Switch in 2021. The game in question is Pokémon Snap. After all the hardware gameplay configurations Nintendo has come up with over the years, it still surprises me that they never came up with a way to integrate the original game with a Game Boy camera. We move on to the 400-point round. Slightly more challenging, but you can handle it. Here comes Fairy type. Fairy types are weak against these types. Only looking for 2 types here, and that would be Poison and Steel. We're visiting the Hoenn region for the second time. In the games, the player's father runs the gym in this Hoenn city. That slacking gave me almost as much trouble as Whitney's Miltank. Petalburg City is the answer this time. How well do you know your Pokeballs? This one's worth 400. A Pokeball with a 100% success rate. Thinking back to one of the clues in our last game, this was another fun item to clone with that missing no glitch. Of course, we're talking about the Master Ball. We have Wizards of the Coast for the second time today. This set, released in 2000, was the first to feature Dark Pokemon. We're about to see what might be considered a follow-up to this set, with the original being Team Rocket. The final clue of the 400-point round leads us to another spin-off game. The first Pokemon spin-off game to be released for the Game Boy. The answer is Pokemon Pinball. Where's the follow-up to this game? Let's move on to the 600-point round. We're back to Fairy types. Eevee's Fairy type evolution. That would be Sylveon. It's been several years since the debut of the latest evolution. Could a new one be on the horizon? Next up is the Hoenn region for 600. These two rival organizations operate in the Hoenn region. We're talking about Team Aqua and Team Magma. This feature was a nice way to add more differentiated content between the two games. The halfway point of the game brings us to Poké Balls for 600. A specialty Pokeball designed for catching Ultra Beast. Mechanics introduced in my least favorite Pokemon games. We're looking for the Beast Ball. How well do you know your obscure history? We're back to Wizards of the Coast. This special collection set only contains 18 cards. The set in question is called Southern Islands. Initially sold as a complete set, it wasn't exactly difficult to collect them all. Here comes spin-off games for the third time today. This Nintendo GameCube game lets the player experience an interesting story mode involving the concept of shadow Pokemon. Aging so well that it's developed a bit of a cult following, we're talking about Pokémon XD, Gale of Darkness. Taking the difficulty up a notch, let's start the 800-point round with more fairy types. This fairy type move drains the target's HP and restores part of the user's HP. You might mistake this for Jinx's signature move. The answer is Draining Kiss. We're catching another flight to Hoenn, this time for 800. The subtitle of the series where Ash traveled around the Hoenn region. If you knew the system these games debuted on, you could make a pretty logical guess at the title. The show was called Pokémon Advanced. Pokémon games for 800. A Pokeball that is primarily used in the Safari Zone. In the Safari Zone, you have to use Safari Balls. Does anybody else miss the Safari Zone? We have Wizards of the Coast for the fourth time today. Base set cards can be found in these three variations or runs. The answer is First Edition, Shadowless, and Unlimited. Let us know if you've ever tried to complete a Shadowless Master Set. On to spin-off games for 800. A long-running series of games that usually starts off with the player being transformed into a Pokemon. The series is Pokémon Mystery Dungeon. I'll admit, this is one series I've never attempted. Let me know in the comments if it's worth trying out. We're in the end game now. It's time for the Master Ball round. The most difficult part of the game. If you're feeling nervous, just take a deep breath and tell yourself that you're gonna be the very best. Like no one ever was. The 1,000 point round begins with Fairy type. Trainers that defeat this Kalos gym will receive the Fairy Badge. If you said Opal, you've got the wrong region. We're actually looking for Valerie. Here comes your final clue about the Hoenn region. The name of a post-game story that ends with the player encountering Deoxys. I'm not the biggest Deoxys fan, but the story and animation here was pretty great. That would be the Delta episode. We're moving on to Pokeballs for 1,000. A Pokeball that is included for free with the purchase of 10 or more Pokeballs. We've all built up a collection of these, but who actually remembers the name? This time, we're talking about a Premier Ball. Here comes your final clue about Wizards of the Coast. This set was planned to follow Skyridge, but was never completed due to Pokemon TCG licensing disputes. If you actually got this one, go ahead and give yourself an extra 1,000 for knowing off-the-wall facts. The set that never came to be was named Jamboree. Here comes the final clue on the board. It's spin-off games for 1,000. A tactical RPG for the Nintendo DS where the player takes on the role of a young warlord. This might just be my favorite spin-off game. The answer being Pokemon Conquest. It's time for the most important part of the game, Final Jeopardy! Add up your point totals and see if you're willing to risk it all based on this category. Pokemon Centers. And I'll even explain how this will work. I'll show you a picture of a Pokemon Center, and you need to tell me the city, town, or area that it's located in. Make those wagers. Alright, and here we go with the final clue of the game. Here it is. And time is up. You should have spent a lot of time post-game flying to this spot, whether you were trying to catch a Larvitar, train with the strongest wild Pokemon, or even to battle Red. The correct answer to this Final Jeopardy clue is Mount Silver. Did you go 26 for 26? Feel free to show off and share those scores in the comments. That's going to do it for our second episode of Pokemon Jeopardy! If you like what you saw, subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified when the next episode drops. And you can always check out our collection of Pokemon Trivia shorts while you're waiting.